Alright guys, so Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark came out this last week and is based on a book series that I remember reading, but I don't remember anything about, honestly. I remember reading this series whenever I was a kid, but I literally don't remember anything about the stories of those. It's kind of like, even though I remember Goosebumps more, I read both those series whenever I was a kid, and you're going to also notice some similarities with Goosebumps in this review that I'm going to talk about for Scary Stories that to Tell in the Dark, which is about these teenagers who find this book that's created by Sarah Bellows, which is this ghost that's like starting to do all this creepy stuff in this book that will literally make like one character says in the movie. She says that we don't write the book writes us, and all this weird stuff starts happening where the book just immediately starts writing down stories for these characters to go through that are scary and horrifying. Now, the first thing I'll give this on a positive note is that I thought this was creative with like the creatures and with what they did with the characters in the movie, with like creepy stuff, because this is a PG-13 horror movie, and it's funny because this one, it has moments where I'm surprised that it is a PG-13. It's kind of shocking, honestly, in a couple moments where I just didn't expect this to happen in a PG-13 horror movie. But that I thought was creative. I like the fact that this is a creative movie, and just with the uniqueness of the creatures and with what the creatures do, I think is actually interesting. And I read up after I watched the movie that a lot of these are based on the actual book, like what these creatures can do with their abilities. I thought that was pretty cool, and the stories these characters go through is interesting. So that's my biggest positive from the movie, is that it's a creative movie in that regard. But honestly, there are a couple things that I'm okay with on this movie. Like, for a while at the beginning of the movie, I was really kind of just sitting there like, oh, this is just kind of typical PG-13 horror movie, even though it does things that are different, like I said, with the creatures and with showing some violent moments in a PG-13 that surprised me. But for the first 30 minutes or so, I was sitting there like, oh, these are just kind of typical, like, characters that aren't very interesting to me. The acting is good, and especially from the main girl, the acting is good all around. She's great, and it surprised me how great of a caliber this this actress has, who plays the main character. She's really, really good. I think her name's Stella in the movie, but she's really, really honestly kind of moving. It's kind of weird to say because, like, this is an actress I don't think I've seen her do anything else with, but she really brought her role to the table with her performance. It really works, and the other performances are good, but her role in particular, since she's the main character, it really works very, very well, and you'll see if you watch the movie. And the other thing that I thought was kind of weird, and this isn't the movie's fault, it's the release date's fault. Why wasn't this released in October or even September? Like, this was released in August, and they mention Halloween in the movie, so it's like, why don't they release this closer? And I know that It Chapter 2 comes out in September, so maybe that's why they're just like, they're scared that it will overtake this movie. But this movie that revolves around Halloween and creepy monsters should have been like in September or October for me. I think it would have. I wonder if this movie's going to do well. I think they're banking on the fact that this movie is a property based on a book series that kids, including me, read people read like me as a kid. So I feel like people are going to look at that, the people who made this movie are going to look at that and say, oh, this will sell. But I don't know. I don't know if this would. I bet this would have done way better if it was in October or September, because I don't know how long this is gonna last, really. Because I don't know. And another, not really a negative, but another similarity to Goosebumps I noticed is that this movie and the Goosebumps movie, the first one, I guess, and the second one too, all revolve around characters finding a book and it unleashes all these monsters. It's not the exact same story, but it's very similar, and I just thought that was interesting that they did a lot of similar things to the Goosebumps movie. But Goosebumps the movie, as opposed to this, is a silly, goofy, over the top movie. This one is trying to be very serious, and there's not really any jokes, and I do like that. But the whole movie to me kind of feels, even though it's got creative things about it, it's not one that I want to rewatch again, there were a couple moments where I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. But then it just kind of trudged on into similar territory in this kind of horror, PG-13 horror for me. And I'm not saying that PG-13 horror can be bad or good. I'm saying that this one, I think, just kind of fell into that category of it's kind of forgettable besides a few little things. Um, but I mean, overall, this one still had some cool things about it. Like I said, had the gruesomeness of it. I like the main character a lot. I like the uniqueness. But I thought that this was just kind of by the numbers horror in a way where it wasn't super interesting to me overall. But I did appreciate and think it's a solid movie. It's just not one I'll rewatch again, really. And I really didn't think that it's one that I loved. But it's still a solid movie and worth its merits, definitely. So I did enjoy this movie overall, but it's just not one that I typically will rewatch again. So that is my thoughts on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Tell me down below what you think of this movie. If you're gonna go see it, have I swayed you to see it or not see it? And if you did see it, tell me if you like it or dislike it. I want to have conversations with you guys. And thank you guys so much for watching.